In the past, Ares often spent his nights listening to a streamer known as Apollo. Her voice was his only solace at that time. Back then, her streams were small and intimate, sometimes consisting of only the two of them talking. Every night, she would end her stream by telling her listeners that she loved them, a simple phrase that stayed deeply etched in Ares' heart. As the new school year begins, a nervous teacher struggles through an important announcement that Furin Girls Academy has merged with Furin Boys, turning the school into a co-ed institution. Before the teacher can fully explain, Ares abruptly interrupts, clearly dissatisfied with the fumbling introduction. He confidently introduces himself to the class, boldly declaring that he will one day lead Japan and therefore cannot tolerate imperfection. He ends his introduction with a respectful bow, but quickly shocks everyone by admitting that he is only 99% perfect. To become complete, he claims he needs all the girls in the class to tell him that they love him. During the break, the boys swarm Ares, angrily accusing him of ruining their reputation and making the girls wary of them. Ares sees no problem with his actions, insisting that they should be grateful. A blonde girl soon approaches him, openly flirting after assuming he comes from a wealthy family. Ares steps toward her, causing her to retreat in surprise at his boldness. After listening carefully to her voice, he bluntly tells her that it lacks impact. Noticing the time, Ares abruptly announces that he needs to use the bathroom, explaining that he relieves himself at the same time every day. As he leaves, the girls whisper about how strange he is, while the boys explain that Ares is searching for a girl whom he only recognizes by voice. Ares overhears them in the hallway, carefully listening to the girls' voices, but none of them match the one he is seeking. As he walks on, he receives a message from his mother. Once notifications like these filled him with excitement, as they usually meant Apollo's stream had started. To Ares' shock, he suddenly hears Rika softly whisper, "I love you," right behind him, teasingly reminding him that break time is almost over. She also points out that he still hasn't gone to the toilet. Flustered, Ares hurriedly rushes off to take care of his business. During lunch, Ares remains distracted, constantly replaying Rika's voice in his head. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted when a female voice echoes through the school intercom. The boys around him are immediately thrilled that the announcements are being handled by a girl. Ares, however, feels something else entirely. Without warning, he declares that he suddenly has something important to do and rushes out. He sprints through the hallways toward where he believes the broadcast room is, his heart racing at the possibility that the voice belongs to Apollo. Based on their past conversations, he knows she should be around the same age as him and lives in the same prefecture. He also remembers her dream of attending an all-girls high school with a view of the ocean. To increase his chances of meeting her, Ares had deliberately enrolled in Furin Boys, knowing that the school would eventually become co-ed by the time they reached high school. When he finally reaches the broadcast room, Ares swings the door open. Inside, he finds 4 girls staring at him in confusion. They quickly scold him for interrupting their broadcast, and Rika immediately tells Nene to mute the mic. As the girls continue reprimanding him, Ares listens closely and notices that each of them sounds like Apollo in a different way. Rika shares a similar tone, Shinobu has the same intonation and pronunciation, Iko's manner of speaking reminds him of Apollo's whispery streams, and Nene carries the same angry voice. Ares feels a deep sense of disappointment. He had believed he could recognize Apollo instantly by her voice alone, yet now he can't determine which of them she might be. The girls then ask if he plans on going pro someday. Confused, Ares listens as they explain that they joined the broadcasting club to pursue careers using their voices. Shinobu shares her dream of becoming an anchor, prompting the others to talk about their own ambitions. Their words stir another memory where Apollo once spoke of a similar dream. Ares' thoughts are cut short when Shinobu casually admits that she already knows about him, thanks to his outrageous self-introduction. But Nene kicks him and angrily calls him a creep for making such an outrageous request. Ares explains himself, insisting that he is searching for someone important. Iko asks if that person might be her as she shows him her VTuber model and admits that her shyness is part of her persona. Rika quickly jumps in to tease Ares, suggesting that he actually came all this way just to see her. To everyone's surprise, Ares calmly admits that he did, and then bluntly asks all 4 girls if any of them is Apollo. The girls stare at him in confusion, with some even wondering aloud if he's talking about the chocolate brand. Ares looks at them in disbelief. He's convinced they're lying. He reasons that Apollo may not want to reveal herself and that her disappearance from streaming is likely connected to that decision. Deciding not to push further for now, Ares turns to leave, convincing himself that he'll have plenty of chances to investigate them another day. However, the girls tell him not to come back since only club members are allowed inside the broadcast room. Ares turns back and boldly declares that he is a professional when it comes to voice work, giving him every right to join the broadcasting club. He then points out that a major flaw in their operation is their outdated equipment. Iko is the first to agree with him, admitting that the school equipment is old, but there's little they can do about it. Aries then proposes that he'll provide them with brand new equipment if they allow him to join the club. The room falls silent until Shinobu finally admits that it sounds like a good deal. Rika also agrees, casually adding that she finds Aries' voice pleasant. The compliment catches him off guard. Thanking them, Aries confidently promises to lead the club to greatness as their president, only for Nene to angrily snap back that Rika is already their president. The girls then wonder how they can repay him for the equipment. Rika smiles and says she has the perfect idea. She tells Aries to face the other direction. When he does, she and the other girls suddenly surround him with voices, all announcing that they love him. Overwhelmed and deeply embarrassed, Aries hastily declares that he needs to finish his lunch and promptly rushes out of the room. Outside, Aries is certain that one of the girls is Apollo. His thoughts drift back to her final stream. He had been the only listener when she ended the broadcast. She told everyone she loved them. Summoning his courage, Aries had responded, telling her that he loved her too. The memory makes him cringe, and he scolds himself for confessing to a girl he barely knew. Part of his urgency to find Apollo is due to that confession, since he needs it deleted. Aries is confident that he will become someone important in the future, and he cannot risk something so embarrassing being used against him. By the end of the day, the club members celebrate Aries' acceptance. They force him into odd party clothes, and although he is clearly being teased, Aries does his best to appear thankful. He almost snaps when Nene refers to him as their errand boy, but Shinobu explains that it was the only way their advisor would approve his membership. Swallowing his pride, he agrees to go along with it and promises to do his best as the club's errand boy. The following day, Aries reviews his notes and decides that he will carefully observe each of the girls. When he enters the club room, only Shinobu is there, adjusting her script for the after-school broadcast. She explains that she tends to flub her lines, so she marks difficult words. She gestures for him to stay quiet as the broadcast begins. Aries watches closely, recalling that Shinobu wants to become a news anchor. She is also the student council vice president and a model honor student. As Shinobu delivers the announcements, Aries is impressed by how clear her voice is. However, the moment she reaches the words she marked in her script, she immediately mispronounces them. It happens every time, so noticeably that Aries can't ignore it. Without thinking, he scolds her, forgetting the microphone is still on. Back in the classroom, Aries' male classmates warn him not to correct Shinobu. They insist that her habit of messing up her lines is part of her charm. Deciding it's pointless to argue, Aries leaves them behind as they continue gushing over her. Mentally, he lowers Shinobu on his list of possible Apollo candidates. Soon after, Aries overhears Nene animatedly talking about Lilikos, a comic he clearly remembers Apollo mentioning. Nene is well known for her bright, energetic personality and is also popular as an avid cosplayer. When a classmate hands her a comic and asks her to voice Lily's lines, Nene happily agrees. As she begins reading aloud, her performance is shockingly accurate, and even Aries finds himself impressed. However, she suddenly stumbles over a word. Unfortunately, she goes on to misread several more lines, unintentionally changing the story. Hearing this, Aries feels disappointed. When Nene finally notices him watching, she loudly calls him out for staring. Aries attempts to explain himself, but the people around her already view him unfavorably, so he quietly removes himself from the situation. Sitting alone on a set of steps, Aries reflects on why identifying Apollo has been so difficult. He wonders if listening to her through streams has distorted his perception of her real voice. While he's convinced that Apollo must be one of the girls in the broadcasting club, he realizes that voice alone isn't enough. He needs to match what he knows about Apollo's personality with each of them. His thoughts are interrupted when Iko suddenly speaks right beside him, startling him so that he falls forward. She quickly apologizes, explaining that she can't see well with her colored contacts. Aries recalls that Iko is an aspiring VTuber. Iko explains that she uses this spot to do short streams during break. She sets up her tablet, and Aries leans closer to observe. Iko energetically greets her viewers, reads a few live comments, and then quickly ends the stream. Aries is surprised by how short it was, but she explains that break time streams are meant to be brief. Despite this, Aries feels another wave of disappointment and excuses himself. Wandering aimlessly through the school, his frustration grows. To him, it feels like all the club members are far too relaxed. His thoughts return to Apollo, how seriously she spoke about wanting to use her voice professionally. He remembers promising Apollo that he would learn everything he could about voice work so he could support her. The two of them had sworn to work toward the professional world together. Now, Aries wonders if he's the only one who ever meant that promise. Soon, Shinobu's voice echoes through the school for announcements. Elsewhere, Iko spots Rika doing nothing and scolds her for slacking off. Rika apologizes, then wonders aloud what Aries really thinks of them. Suddenly, Aries' voice cuts through the intercom. Alarmed, the girls rush toward the broadcast room. When they arrive, they find Ares openly calling out the broadcasting club for being lax and telling the students that they shouldn't be treated like princesses. If Apollo is among them, she needs to remember their promise. Since he doesn't know which girl she is, he decides that he'll make sure all of their dreams come true. He declares over the broadcast that he will work tirelessly to guide the broadcasting club toward becoming true professionals. The moment he finishes, he's promptly kicked out of the room so the girls can take over the broadcast. His phone notifies him that Apollo is live. Ares immediately tunes in. Apollo greets him warmly, admitting that she's happy he's listening and that she was always grateful to him, even back when she barely had any viewers. She apologizes, saying she still can't reveal herself yet. Then she confesses that whenever she told her listeners that she loved them, she was always talking about him. Ares listens in silence, staring at the broadcast room door. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss new episode every week.